Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
My name is Mona Al-Harbi. I would like to welcome you all here. This is our third MS Circle for the MS National MS Society. And today our topic will be about MS and the workplace. But before we dig into that, we want to get to know you and to know the people who are here with us today. As an icebreaker, just give us your name and what brings you here, and if you're an employee or an employer. Let's start with
Hi, my name is Khawal Hamadi. I'm from Abu Dhabi Human Resource Authority. I received invitation this week from Russia, Mahmoud. And I don't know anything about this MS actually, but yesterday I searched a lot and I read a lot. It's a surprise for me, all the information and what I heard about it. And I believe learning about MS people to help me and to increase awareness and support these people in HRA, inshallah.
Rim.
Hi, my name is Riman. I'm working in the banking industry. I was diagnosed in 2017. And yeah, I'm here so that I can advocate for MS awareness. And I feel that the more we speak of it, the more that it's easier for others to diagnose others or recommend that they should probably go see a neurologist at some point if needed, instead of being so closed and not understanding what MS is about.
Thank you,
So
Rim.
yeah.
Thank you, Rim.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fahid. I was born and raised in Dubai. I got diagnosed in 2008. I've been in Dubai since 2011, since I came back from the US. There's not a lot of awareness for MS in this region. Not a whole lot of people know about it, what to expect. So I'm just here to share my experiences. I work in the healthcare sector in the finance department, and here I am.
مرحبا. أنا أول شيء الحين أنتم تتكلمون بالإنجليزي وأنا مو عندي خلفية في الإنجليزي.
خذي راحتك عادي، احنا كلنا.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
وش حالكم؟ ربكم بخير؟
بخير الحمد لله.
أنا فاطمة المنصوري. عندي الMS من 10 سنوات والحمد لله بخير وسهال الحمد لله. اللهم لك الحمد.
Hi, I'm Samia. I've had MS since 2019, but I'm familiar with MS because my mom has had it for a much longer time. I'm self-employed, but previously I was employed actually here in Emirates Towers for a while, but I decided to work for myself, which has given me a lot more balance with my condition. And I'm very passionate about creating impact and change when it comes to MS and just making it less of a taboo subject to talk about for people to feel comfortable, whether it's at work or amongst family, and say, yes, I have this condition, and support people rather than feeling it's something we have to hide or be ashamed of for any reason.
Hi, my name is Yasmin. I've been diagnosed with MS since 2017. Born and raised here. I mean, I'm glad that there is starting to be more awareness about MS. This is basically the reason why I'm here today.
Hi, my name is Abid. I've been diagnosed with MS since 2018, let's say. What brought me here actually, just I want to talk to people that when I'm explaining to them what I'm feeling, that's what I was telling my wife yesterday. When I'm telling you I'm dizzy, I want to tell someone I'm dizzy now. He will understand what the meaning of dizzy. I'm tired, I have no pain.
Yeah.
She will understand what the meaning of the pain. Like, I don't have anything, I can't move. I have imbalance or anything. And that's why I came to here. Okay, of course, I want to increase the awareness, but I'm not aware yet. I'm a self-employee, like I'm running my business now. I kicked myself from my work, my job, before getting kicked. And I'm doing well.
Interesting. We will know more about that later.
Yes.
Thank you,
My name is Hanadi Al-Mansouri. I'm 28 years old, a mother of two.
I have an MS since 2017. Yes, I'm here to feel lighter about MS, that someone can feel me, can feel the same symptoms and everything that I have. So, yes, that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Hanadi. And last but not least.
My name is Khadija. I get MS on 2010, and I want to share our challenge story for each other. Yeah, I'm so glad,
Yeah.
and
I
I'm
think
so
all of us
interested.
are here
Yes.
just to share our challenges and concerns about the workplace and having MS. So you will find a piece of paper in front of you, Arabic or English. I want you to write one word. When you were a child, يوم كنت صغير, شو كنت تتمنى تكون يوم تكبر? What did you want to be when you grow up? Oh, this is easy. Businessman.
It's about the word. I liked it that time.
You don't have to say who wrote it. بس يعني.
You look to me.
Okay, since you already spoke about it, tell us, what did you feel and what do you feel now?
No, I liked the word that time. I know it's like رجل أعمال in Arabic or businessman. Oh, I want to be that. I don't want to be engineer. I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be businessman. Give me this one. Okay, now I am.
After being a grown-up and being a real businessman, what do you feel now and how can you relate that to MS, having MS?
Okay, MS pushed me in certain time. Like I have now to run because my life plan was like when I'm 40, my plan was that when I'm 40 years old, my business is ready. I have my own house. I have my blah, 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 this my step. So when I got the MS, okay, I have to run faster now. So I changed my plan. Okay, let it be 36. It's good.
Did you face any difficulties in planning after knowing that you were diagnosed with MS?
Not yet, because I used to work for 14 hours a day. So I reduced it to 10, which is good for me. I'm totally relaxed. So till now, I know like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I can run my business easily. So this is the time to invest. And after that, I will reduce it to 8 to 6 till I be relaxed.
Okay, so I want to pass this question to Fahid because you're self-employed, you mentioned.
No, I'm not. I work with an employer. I'm in the finance department. I head the finance department. I'm in the healthcare sector. So yeah, I'm not self-employed. I would love to be self-employed. Inshallah.
And how did the MS affect working with your current employer?
Well, it's a pretty, like I say, very disappointing story. Like basically,
I think all of us. I don't know. I want to create a safe space in sharing.
Sure.
Because I think most of us here, or all of us, beside Khawla, we have MS. So when you speak about some disappointments or things happened with you and your employer, trust us and trust that we will understand and feel free, and it's a safe space to discuss.
Sure.
We want to understand more, and we are willing to understand. We just want to know your perspective, what you went through, and all of us, I think we can relate to what you went through as MS people.
So I mean, I've had MS. Like I believe in this group, I've had MS the longest since 2008. You know what I mean? So my symptoms were pretty okay, manageable for the last, I'd say, 10 years, 11 years. And I hadn't told anyone at work that I have MS. I guess it's just this stigma in my head, or like, paranoia that people will look at me different. People will look at me as if I'm a handicap, or I had all these mental scenarios in my head that were just always playing. Yeah, and I just didn't want anyone to come up to me and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But I was like, "No, you don't know that. You don't know what I'm going through." I guess it was this internal battle I was facing. You know what I mean? But anyways, point being is that in my current job, so I've never told anyone at work that I have MS.
But what was the thing that made you feel disappointed?
And I'll get to that. So basically, I had a lot of pressure coming in, and I hadn't told at work, and there was an email that went out at work that the insurance has been hiked up because someone in our company has been diagnosed with MS and XYZ. So I decided to come out clean, and I said, okay, you know, hey, I'm the one that has MS. Well, I didn't say when I was diagnosed, but I just said, okay, I'm the one that has been diagnosed. And my boss calls me like 15 minutes later, and he's like, hey, I'm really sorry to hear about that, but we're going to let you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, his perspective is that we were already thinking about this for a while, but I guess they didn't want a liability. So I'm still serving my notice period. I mean, like I'm finishing work on the 30th of this month. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, you know, I mean, like I said, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, you kind of like decide to confide into someone, and it kind of like kicks you, you know what I mean? So it was just one of those experiences. So yeah, I kind of like, and I was like, you know what, I just need to be more aware of what I need to tell people and who I need to tell. It kind of puts you in a back foot, you know what I mean? But like I said, alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed. I have a supportive family. I'm the sole owner of my family. I'm not worried about the financial part about it. You know what I mean? You know, I believe in Allah, and I know He opens up a lot of doors, and I have a lot of doors open up for me. It's just what I feel really hurt about it is that, you know, I mean, it's just that I said something to you that, you know, I confided in that, and like, you know, the way it was done was very bad. You know, I mean, it could have just been waited, be like, hey, you know what? Why don't you just take some time off and come back and we'll decide. But 15 minutes later, he calls me and he's like, yeah, I'm really sorry, but we're going to let you go.
Do you think it was like a finance problem more than understanding or awareness of your situation?
Look, I think the trouble was already brewing between me and my boss. You know, I mean, I know there was some friction going on for a while. Okay. So it wasn't that, you know, but I just think it was just like the cherry on top. You know what I mean? So okay, we don't need him because we don't want a liability. So here's the door, buddy.
Yeah, it's like they found the final reason that day. Rimon, can you relate to that?
Yeah. So one day, after a year and a half of looking for a job, I finally found one in one of the companies in Dubai. So basically what happened was that on the day of signing, I told the HR representative that I won't be able to come in the next day because I have an MRI scan. And she was like, oh, why? And I was like, because I have MS. And then she was like, oh, and then I get a call the next day. The HR director basically told me, I apologize that you do have MS, but we cannot give you the offer. So they revoked the offer at the time. And funny story, the HR director confessed that she had MS as well. So I found that very off, and I was like, if you understand what we're going through, then why wouldn't you give me the job? Like I'm healthy. I do have, you know, attacks here and there, but I mean,
I'm fully functional.
Fully functional.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I didn't get the job, and I waited a couple more months, and I landed, let's say, a better pay.
Yeah, opportunities are always there. I think we all agree on that. But let's go back to the self-employment. Like, that's a brave decision, especially with such a diagnosis. So, Samia, what can you tell us about that?
I got diagnosed while I was on the job, if you like. So I already had a job. I got diagnosed 2 years into the job. So I didn't have the issues of maybe insurance and things like that because I was already covered. And in all honesty, the HR department were quite supportive in my story, I guess, when it came to medication and insurance and things like that. However, I did notice, I think what MS has given me is a wake-up call to pay attention to myself and my body and what I actually want, rather than being that 9-to-5 person that's just trying to achieve goals and thinking about life. I'm a bit more present and aware. I listen to my body. If I'm feeling anxious at work, I'm like, this isn't good for me. What can I do to make myself feel better? Because it's going to bring on symptoms if I'm anxious. These tight deadlines where I worked, it was a very fast-paced office. There was no room for, take a day off here, or you can go home in the afternoon. It was like, we need a presentation now, 2 hours, it needs to go to management. And I was keeping up with that pace. But there would be days, of course, when I was super tired. And I was like, you know what, I can't focus, and I can't sit here and look at another presentation. And after some time, as you say, I took the brave stance to just leave, and no one could understand, right? So I quit my job. And everyone was like, well, where are you going to next? What's next? And I was like, nothing. And no one can understand that. What do you mean nothing? I'm like, nothing. I'm just going to pause. I'm going to think about what I need to do here and shift my focus into something that suits my health, my mental health, my physical health. And someone said to me, well, why don't you start freelancing as a consultant? Why don't you just test it out and see? But I'm very traditional in my mind, 9-to-5, and we all have responsibilities, and I'm thinking about not having insurance, because obviously I quit my job and I had no medical insurance, which is the worst idea for somebody with MS. So some people might think I'm crazy, but it's what I did. And when I left work, I felt amazing, honestly. I felt the best I have felt, because it took away that anxiety to perform, and that anxiety to show up every day 10 out of 10, physically, mentally. And I started consulting just 2 months ago, actually. So it's a test. I'm trying it. So far, so good, alhamdulillah. It's working. But by being a freelancer, I can control my time. If I'm having a day where I'm feeling a bit tired in the morning, I can start my day at 10 and work a bit later into the evening. I'm very open about my MS. I'm very honest. I put it on the table day one. Anyone asks me, what do you have? I have MS. This is my condition. And I don't essentially put demands. I don't mean it like that, but I'm just open, because I think that's how we need to be. We need to be heard.
Yeah.
We need to be open about our situation and feel that we're not going to get judgment or treated differently for having a condition,
exactly.
not just
It's
with
not
MS.
about being judged or feeling sorry for us. It's just for you to know and understand my situation, and why not I'm not present with you, or I'm quitting, or etc.
Yeah.
So your story is very inspiring, Samia,
Thank you.
but it's a little bit different than Thabit. You said you went to the unknown, and he said he changed the plan. So let's hear from Thabit. You changed your plan after your diagnosis.
Okay, my whole plans changed the moment my wife crashed in front of me.
Wow.
Once she was crying. It happened once and last, and will never happen again. We decided that it will not happen again. So in my life, I have my wife, my amazing daughter, my annoying amazing daughter. So everything for them at the end. That day, I remember my wife crashed, like she was crying. For me, she was feeling sorry, because I don't get the insurance that time from the company, because they rejected the insurance. So she was crying because I was calculating the whole day my expenses, what I have to do. And she was crying on the situation, like for me, only for me. And I told her, okay, listen up. We are going to make it, whatever will happen. I'm going to change my timing. I don't work 2 shifts anymore. That's what when I was employed. And that time, the first problem happened, like you have to work 2 shifts. No, I will work only 1. Either you like or fire me. I can sign it now. And I was like ready for it. If you want to fire, sooner or later you'll fire me with this attitude. I will not work for 7 hours. I can't work for 14 hours, 1 shift. But I will not get this 1 or 2 hours break in the middle.
Yeah, we can see, from Thabit's story, we can see that being clear in what you want and accepting MS in a way that I don't want you to feel sorry for me. Just give me a chance, and I will prove myself. And I think Khadija had a similar. Can you tell us more about your first job?
Actually, they kick me out because I get MS. Because when I get pregnant, I get many attack. I get 3 attacks. then they say, Khadija, you have a lot of sick leave. We cannot approve that. We have a limitation sick leave. That sorry for that, Khadija, but I apply all my medication story, my report from government hospital, but I don't know why they not believe me. They push me to apply my resign after 9 years work. This is my story, but actually I am one of my, like what she say, I put my MS in my table, but I challenge my MS, I continue my study, my bachelor, either if I have a children, it's fine. I challenge I don't want to focus on my disease. I want to escalate it, that this one, it will push me up. Okay, I continue my bachelor, I continue my master. Now, alhamdulillah, I get my master, and now I am freedom without work. But actually, I don't want to keep my certificate on the wall. I want to actually to give my country something. That's why I try to, but I am honest with anyone. I have MS. If you will accept, because the government, it support MS guys, because it's considered under the special need.
I see Khadija is getting too emotional, and I can't imagine an HR representative what is she thinking right now. So let's give her a chance to speak about what you heard. I know it's overwhelming and but tell us what you think.
As I said, this is a surprise for me. I hear about all these stories, like you, how you feel in your work and what your plan and your change, and inshallah. And about خديجة يعني شيء وايد صعب خديجة. I think we need to focus more about this MS people, and we need more awareness and everywhere about from the social media, from like as she said, like cancer in October full month. It's all people and all organization. It's awareness about the cancers. Why not not to talk about the MS?
But can you tell us, like, just give them an idea, what kind of policies are now available for chronic diseases in general?
In general, they have facilities about the placement, about the chairs for they have wheelchairs and accessibility about this is all available now for all organization. I think in Abu Dhabi, but I don't know in other Emirates.
It's available in Dubai. It's available.
Yeah, I think it's available in other Emirates, but like, is there a certain percentage that people of determination should be included in these workplaces, or
I'm not sure. Maybe I hear before maybe 2%. 2%. I think.
But I think nobody is aware of that. Like, did any one of you hear about that policy? Like, 2% of people of determination should be employed in certain.
But then again, we were afraid to tell the HR that we have MS to push for those benefits of determination. So that's the issue. So me going into the business or into a new company, I'd be afraid to tell HR, oh, I have MS, until I'm actually in, and then I could open up.
But what if in the workplace, like you have fundamental rights, you mean, and the workplace doesn't know about it, and you want to, you want these rights, but you cannot be brave enough to tell them because of how they will treat you, or maybe you will lose your job, etc.
Yeah.
So you mean like كيف نحصل على هذه الحقوق؟ صح؟ Or
من دون ما نخسر
الوظيفة. I think Hanadi can tell us more about that.
I would like to say first, MS is a major life disability and a major life functioning for the life, whatever we do. I keep forgetting.
She's saying like we can be super functional even with MS. Never mind our level of MS or type of MS, we can be super functional. it's a life-changing diagnosis, but we can still be functional.
Yes, and with my current job, actually, I haven't told them that I have MS for 3 months. I wanted them to see my potentials first. And then I opened up with my manager, and she actually accepted it very fine because she saw my real potential. She thought it was just something that is invisible inside me. So that's why whenever I tell her I have hospital appointments, she used to let me
One of the benefits of your employer doesn't know about MS, they can just pass it like a regular sick leave, and you can go on with your job like you just get a regular sick leave. And this is what she was saying. If you don't hear,
Yes.
continue, Hanabi.
And yes, actually, they are accepting MS, but still they don't know what is MS. They think it's just like a genetic thing. One of my managers, she thought it's contagious or something. Yes, but now maybe I'm telling them more about my condition. They little bit understand, but not the total thing, because every MS patient have different symptoms and different levels actually of pain and disabilities, whatever they have. So yes, I would wish one day that they all know about MS and accept us how we are.
I want to add to that. I think, I don't know if you agree with me, guys. Like, it's our right as MS people not to disclose about our MS. It's not necessarily, especially if it's invisible and it doesn't show. And I'm fully functional. I'm doing the best performance I can do. It's not necessarily to disclose. I don't have to explain myself to everyone if I'm in a fatigue situation. Or what do you think, Yasmin?
I mean, I agree. You don't have to disclose, but sadly, you get put in situations where it's that or you have no other option. I agree. I understand how you feel about being let go. So I had the benefit of getting MS when I was in college, and it was difficult because I was on the basketball team, I was working, I was studying, I was a daughter, supportive daughter to my older dad. I was doing a lot of things. And then through university, thankfully, some of my professors were supportive. So they would understand if I couldn't study for a quiz or stuff, especially since I was doing telecom engineering, but some weren't really understanding. They'd be like, oh, you just need to get married and stay at home. Two different opinions. But then once I joined, work, it was a bit difficult because you had situations where people are like, oh, especially since I was being supported by my sister, so I didn't have an insurance that covers my MS. So I need to go to the organization that gives me the medication for free, or I need to go to a specific hospital that is so far to do the MRI, or this or that. So a lot of excuses. Oh, I need to go to the hospital. Why? Need to see the doctor. So sometimes you have to find lies. But then I think it hit its peak when COVID happened. I was working in a law firm at that point, and I still remember I was the only one walking into the office with a mask on because everyone was like, so what, it's just the flu. And I was the only one who had to walk in because at that point that was the lowest my white blood cells had reached. It was at 0.2, I still remember. And I remember my boss taking a minute to actually tell me, why are you wearing a mask? And it was those moments where you're like, oh, I have to explain. And I said, oh, so this is the situation. He didn't comment, thankfully, because the next day I've come to find out that he thought I have HIV, actually, which was very amusing to hear. But then soon afterwards I was let go because, since COVID has hit and you seem to have to wear a mask and you're in reception, sorry, you have to be let go because it's not a representation of the company. It's been up and down. I'm lucky now, thankfully, that my boss knows, but it still takes a toll on me mentally that I'm always in the constant battle of, if I say I'm too tired, people will be like, oh, it's a bit difficult.
So still you go through the judgments and you know,
Exactly.
yeah, and you feel like you want to double your performance just so they don't notice that what you're going through.
True.
يعني after listening to all of you guys and فاطمة يعني بعد ما سمعتي كل التحديات اللي مروا فيها، اللي اضطر يترك عمله واللي اضطر يعني واللي تعرض لمعاملة يعني غير منصفة، شو رايك انت او شو التحديات اللي تحسين ان نحتاج ان نسمعهم او نطلع فيها كحلول لمرضى الام اس؟
اصلا في ناس ما تعرف شو مرض الام اس.
صح.
يعني هاي مرت علينا نحن في منطقتنا، ما في حد يعرف شو معنات مرض الام اس. يفكرون انها مس جن ومش عارفه والدختر.
صح.
والله صح. انا اعرف ولد عمره 25 سنه صار معاه الام اس نفس اصابتي، ما راح يتعالج، عمره 25 يعني من سن عيالي ما راح يتعالج. اكلم امه ساعديه خليه هذا صغير ما يفهم. تقول لي لا انت رحتي سويتي الطب الشعبي. يا اختي خلي الطب الشعبي ياخذ الطب الشعبي
ويجيبون له مطوع يقرا عليه
الطب الشعبي ودوه للدختر يعني عالجوه. انا يوم انا نفعني اني طلعت على طول اوروبا، سافرت امريكا جايت لهم في كرسي. قال لي اذا انت بحتي على الكرسي بتلمين دائما للكرسي. حاولي انك والله اني اسحبها ريولك كذي نفس العباءه الشيله. حاولي انك خذي الكرسي اللي يندز وتعزي، تعبتي قعدي واستمري على المشي، لا تتركين المشي. اذا تركت المشي بتتعب عندك الاعصاب ريول. واستمريت على كلمه الدكتور اللي قالها لي، وهذه وانا مستمره. اتعب اقعد، ما تعبت خلاص امشي، حتى احس شوي اني تعبانه لا لازم امشي، لازم اطلع، لازم اروح لين تقوى شوي عضلاتي. انا من اسبوع ما قدرت امشي، ما قدرت اسوق سيارتي، احط ريلي راح اركها على البريك.
يعني هي she's saying that our culture is still in a level that there is not enough awareness of MS, so the employer or another member in the community can understand what this person is going through. Even the parents, they don't understand, so they don't run off and diagnose their child when they see certain symptoms. ولكن شو رايك يعني كحلول عشان نرفع الوعي ونخلي الأهل يعني يتسارعون في تشخيص الهاي مدام إن نقدر نتلاحق عليه كمرض؟
صح، نحن لازم تكون التوعية أكثر. ما في توعية عندنا، خاصة نحن في مناطقنا في توعية ما في. التواصل أنا جيته بس عشان إني شفته في الانستغرام، حتى صرت بتواصل مع حد إن ما في رقم أتواصل معاه. طلعت جيتكم ليا موعد، أدز بعمري عندكم. والله في ناس خلاص يعني مش عنده خلاص، اذا ما جاهدوا من انفسهم وشافوا الشيء ليش انه ما يوصلوا الشيء هذا. في ناس ما تسمع ما يسمعون، ما عندهم هاي الجمعيه، ما عندهم هاي الفكره اني اوصل. انا في عندي بنات صغار في السن اعرفها صار معاها المرض ما صار مش متواصلات، خلاص حجما حتى بالبيت، حتى المشي وما مشي، الحركه ما حركه، خلاص انا مريضه اوكي هذا مرض صح، لكن كيف أنا أبادر للحياة؟ كيف أنا أبادر أمشي؟ كيف أنا أطلع؟ أتعايش مع المرض. لازم أني أتعايش. أنا رحت عند الدكتور، أنا عندي تصلب بالوحي، من 2 سنين صار عند زوجي جلطة نصفي. قال لي أنت ما تشتغلين له، أنت هو تجيبين له ممرضة أو تجيبين له حد ما قلت له ما وين أجيب له؟
يعني level الوعي أو she's talking about the level of awareness should include all the members and even family members. And like after listening to all your backgrounds and all your story, I think we all agree it's different. Like for Hanadi, because of having a family member, or Samia, because of having a family member, it was more easier to make people around you understand. Or maybe it was there as a term. Multiple sclerosis was in your community, in your culture, people around you. But for people who never knew about it or never heard about it, it's more difficult and more challenging to make the people around you understand that even maybe the simple things are difficult for them to do. After like wrapping all this, she was mentioning that a person or an MS person should have the initiative to help himself first in order to reflect on others and the family members and the community around you. With that said, I want to go back to the HR perspective. Like, if an HR at the HR level, if there is not that much awareness, how can we expect the community or our culture to have that level of awareness with multiple sclerosis? Can you elaborate about that?
يعني أتوقع من خلال أتكلم بالعربي، أتوقع من خلال إن إحنا ندخل في السياسات أكثر. نوضح المرض هذا، تتكون في لجنة، تصير في عندنا ساعات في عندنا لجان للمواضيع الجديدة اللي تطرح، ندخل معانا مثلا حد من شركة صحة متخصص بالمرض هذا على أساس هو يوافي أكثر، يوضح لإدارة السياسات عندنا أن شو الفاسيلتيز المفروض توفر حق الناس اللي عندهم الMS، أو شو الاحتياجات اللي يحتاج، يعني شو ساعات العمل اللي ممكن هم يقدرون يغطونها. فهذه أتوقع.
بس أنا سوري على المداخلة، بس أنا أحس إن الحكومة والهيئات الصحة عندها علم كافي. إنزين يعني نفس الحين نقول على حدود إمارة دبي وإمارة أبو ظبي بعد على ما أعتقد. إنزين إن أنت مثلا إذا أنت عندك شو صار لي أنا، صارت لي مخالفة مبركنة بالغلط في بارك المعاقين. أنا ما كنت أعرف أصلاً ان يعطون بطاقه المعاقين. انزين فبركنت بالغلط، حطوا لي مخالفه، فسرت قلت لهم ترى انا عندي في الكليه تصريح اني انا ابركن هني. الكليه كانوا يعرفون فما يخلوني امشي في الشمس وايد. هي انزين فاعطوني شو اسمه، قالوا لي الشرطه اذا بتجيبين تقرير طبي من الRTA على طول نحن بنعفيك من المخالفه. فحزتها انا طلعت بطاقه مال المعاقين اعطوني اياها. فانا اقول البوليسي والحكومه تعرف immediately انا انعفيت من سالك، immediately انا شو اسمه اسوي ريجستريشن از فري حق سياره واحده اللي هي باسمي تكون. انزين يعني انا احس الحكومه اوريدي اويرنس عندها علم، بس ما في امبلمنت حق البوليسي الجنرال، عرفتي، في الHR
ما في اهتمام،
ما في هي يعني لين الحين بعدها الحكومه شوي في ويكنس بالربط. يعني احس انه يعني اوكي هيئه الصحه في وادي والHR في وادي، هي والله ما في ربط.
يعني شوف يمكن الحين مثل ما تقول مثلا مع الداخليه، انت الحين الداخليه متقدمين وايد ما شاء الله، وبعدين سياستهم مختلفه. يعني الداخليه لها سياسه مختلفه عنا احنا. الاتحاديه من دبي وطالع سياساتهم مختلفه عن
اوكي بس ميزي بين دبي وبين ابو ظبي.
هي ترى السياسات
نحن الحين في ابو ظبي معطينا لازم المفروض السياره تكون مخفي شامل. دبي مصرح، ابو ظبي ممنوعه. اذا رخصتها في دبي ما تتخالف في ابو ظبي. وانا ما اتعرض للحراره.
صح.
They're talking about how important is the policy and the policy in those authorities and these workplaces. So one of the examples they mention is the parking. The POD parking is one of the rights. On papers, it's available on papers. And we have endorsement from our leadership for all POD conditions, which is mentioned in the دليل أصحاب الهمم. It's called the Directory of POD diseases. دليل أصحاب الهمم.
أنا ما أقطع كلامك، لكن ياتني موقف في أصحاب الهمم باركن للمعاقين يومية أنها مديرة المركز اللي فاتحت لنا واقفة فيه وهي مش معاقة صاحية. على طول بلغت الشرطة قلت له تعال هذه صاحية ومبركة في مال المعاقين. شو خلت للمعاقين؟ كنا قبل تصير اللي عندنا الإعاقة كنا ما نفكر في الأشياء هذه.
Yeah, as I was mentioning, yeah, there is an official directory for people with determination that was from the Department of دائرة التنمية المجتمع, and it's mentioned there, multiple sclerosis, and it's but they don't know that they have rights also because it's a rare disease, and the people who have it that work in these workplaces are very less than the majority of regular diseases, like for example the Down syndrome or paralyzed or these other POD cases. So the policy is very important. As Khadija mentioned, it should be out in the light. It should be implemented in these workplaces, and it should. We should, as an MS community, we should shed the light on these rights. This is a simple example. The parking is a simple example, but we can look at other things as well. Reducing the hours, the fatigue on the treatment day when you go get your treatment. I think that I was going to that point next. It's very important, especially like in Fahid's case. It's very important to have something to fall back onto for insurance, for treatments. On emotional level, if you go through all these challenges and on top of that you don't have a insurance cover or the finance for your treatment, it may escalate your MS. You may get in this emotional roller coaster that can increase your symptoms or make your symptoms get worse. So one of the important things we need to emphasize in this meeting is insurance, and how can policymakers include that in workplaces and make it maybe mandatory. I'm sure it's mandatory now, but how can we add it to the MS? Khawla, can you tell us more in Arabic?
أتوقع يعني لازم إحنا ندخل المعنيين هني، تشكل لجنة على أساس يطلع قرار من أصحاب مثل ما قلت صحة HRA عشان السياسات هي عندها وتخلق السياسات من عندها وهي اللي تعلمها على الجهات الحكومية. والأويرنس يكون دائما.
She's mentioning
أول شيء نتمنى أن مثلا المستشفى الاختصاص للأم اس ومرض الأم اس أنه يكون مجتمع كامل، يعني مش يكون اختصاص كدكتور بس أم اس. يعني مثلا تحتاجين المسالك البولية، تحتاجين الكلى، تحتاجين أي شيء مختص تبع هذول الأصحاب اللي عندهم الأم اس، ما تروحين من أماكن لأماكن.
Yeah, I agree. If we had an MS, a dedicated MS center, that would make it very better and easier to implement these policies. But let's hear from Fahad and Samia about the insurance part and the coverage of treatment. Can you tell us more?
Well, I think if we're talking about employment specifically, the first thing is the person who's heading HR doesn't know what multiple sclerosis is in the first place. So whether you declare it or you don't, you're just going to get a nod and a smile and a little bit of support, but it's not essentially that person's responsibility to go and read and research what multiple sclerosis is, right? So I think the first step is making sure that HR have a document which explains exactly what multiple sclerosis is, how our symptoms vary, because like you, I wouldn't necessarily class myself as a person of determination. I wouldn't need disability access or something like that. My needs are different, and we all have different needs. So I think this needs to be explained, that one day doesn't look like tomorrow. On the outside, I look fine. I'm great. Tomorrow morning, it might not be the same, but you can't see it because it's invisible. So you need to understand how this condition affects people differently and how the symptoms vary day to day. If I'm good today, it doesn't mean that I feel the same tomorrow. And it's just having a little bit of flexibility that HR manager or your line manager says, you know what, work from home today or come in at 9 o'clock. But that's, I think, the first step is actually understanding it.
We shouldn't reach the level that we have to go and demand for a parking, for example.
And then I think secondly, in all honesty, I think MS in general has a very bad reputation because there's not enough content on people living well with MS, right? All the content is I'm suffering, I'm going through this, but we very rarely talk about people doing well. We don't show someone in a job functioning well. We don't show somebody who's still going to the gym and giving us hope, making us stronger, right? It's all very, I would say, in my opinion, a little bit sad, right?
I think all of us agree.
And I think half of the battle with this condition is mental. So if I'm around people who are going to inspire me to do better and believe that I can still do that job, I can still do, then it will naturally make me feel that way. So I think the second thing is, if that person doesn't know much about multiple sclerosis, all they've seen is very negative. So they're going to think immediately she can't produce, she can't work, so I'm going to fire her, or I'm going to get...
That's what's happening now.
Exactly, because they immediately, and there's a happy medium, right? Our needs are different, but it doesn't mean that we can't work. It doesn't mean that we can't produce. It doesn't mean that we can't reach deadlines. We just need some understanding and support on the days that are off. We need our colleagues to step in, help us out. And that's, I think it's those two main points. Sorry, going back to the insurance question.
Okay, before the insurance question, I think...
Actually, to add to Samia's point, I mean, well, 2 points if I may, if I have the time. For the HR, I've worked in law firms before, so I know for a fact that to litigate here or to practice law here, you have to complete a mandatory 40 hours by the government, by the Dubai courts, in order to be able to practice law. I mean, it would be nice to see something like that mandated on HRs. So if they have to complete a number of hours in order for them to qualify to practice HR, because I've seen people who are sales and work as HR, and I'm all for career shift, but not every HR person goes in with an HR mentality. So they don't necessarily know what they're talking about, or they're just implementing the clause that they read, and that's it. They're not implementing the whole policy. It would be really great to see that, okay, HR have to go through a yearly refreshment trainings. I'm very fond of training because I'm responsible for trainings in our company. And it's, you know, a yearly refreshment training about, okay, these are the diseases, these are the disabilities, and not just MS, but I mean, there are other disabilities that have different symptoms, that have different needs, right? It's important that they have the basis knowledge. I'm not asking him to look at me and say like, oh, I know you're fatigued today. No, just the basic knowledge. That's all I ask for. That's very, you know, the basic. To add to insurance, I've seen it in my home country as well. It's really nice to see the government here supports MS, and they've done great initiatives. But it's really great to see centers for people who have MS in every emirate that don't have insurance, because a lot of people are aware. For one, I had to travel a lot. I mean, COVID, I was spoiled because the medicine would come, people would come and take my blood tests, so that's fine. But prior to COVID, I'd have to travel far and long and wait for many hours to get my treatments done, or this or that. I was support. Shout out to Musanada. They were a great system by the government. They were very supportive. But I had to do a lot of traveling, especially since I don't drive, and it took a lot of time. So I mean, it would be really great to find, you know, centers that are in each emirate that, you know, have doctors, that neurologists that come maybe, you know, to do some pro bono time or something in order to help people. It would be really great to see that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the MS, the National MS Society have this in their agenda, and one of their goals is like to make treatment available for people who are not covered.
I think it was more, my sort of question or statement was more for people in HR to see that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's different me explaining it to my HR manager, and there's going to be a cross of communication, then she's going to feel sorry for me, and then we're going to have it's I think important for anyone in HR to have a document that explains MS in a simple way and explains how that person may vary day to day and how symptoms in patients vary day to day, just so they get a full picture of, okay, today might be a slow day for her. She might, you know, we'll get her some support. We'll get, you know, it's like, there's no understanding until today. Even though I was very open about my MS and stuff, you know, people at work won't ask me about it or say, because they don't understand it. And that's nobody's fault, but that's, I think that's the first point, is actually.
It can be the same way applied to an employee going through chemo, for example,
Absolutely.
or employee going through, like, you know, something with his parents or his old grandfather, or etc. It can be
100%.
But what I feel is empathy. The empathy is not there. So they might go like, oh, we're sorry, we understand. And so, but when you see someone going through chemo, you feel empathetic towards that person.
Yeah.
So when someone comes into HR and they are open about their MS situation, they need to be empathetic and understanding towards that situation in order to provide for that person for their future or so forth. The thing is that if you're not empathetic, you cannot give, and therefore you will never understand. You don't have to have it to feel or put yourself into that person's shoe, but you need to understand that this person is going through something. Therefore, I'm going to try my best to make it easier for that person. And if HR people understand that and they force that or they implement that within their institution, the institution is going to force itself to understand what's going on with every single employee that they're dealing with, making it a must, because you know how we're in the generation of mental awareness and so forth. So I think they can use that as a mental or like a change of the way they look at environments of workplaces.
Like, I'll just tell you about my personal experience, you know what I mean? Like, if I have to go from point A to point B, or if I'm thinking, like, I'll just tell you here. So when I had to see, okay, this is happening at the youth hub, I had to mentally prepare myself. I had to run this like diagram in my head. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna park here. I have to walk this amount, and I have to make a turn here, and then I have to. So I'm playing these constant, scenarios in my head, being like, how much I have to walk, or where do I need to go, or where do I need to sit, and where will there be parking, and it's constantly exhausting. It's exhausting, I'm telling you. I mean, like when you're constantly thinking about that, it takes. I mean, like mentally, like I said, I mean, I'm pretty strong, alhamdulillah. You know what I mean, but it takes a toll on you.
Alhamdulillah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It takes a.
I want to hear about your treatment.
I was just listening to him. So I was thinking, like, I parked my car somewhere I don't know. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go now. I'll find my car at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'll find it everywhere. I'm going to the mall. I park my car. I don't care. I will find it later.
Yeah.
I don't have to think. This process I've been through it. From A to B, I have to do this, then this. No,
It's
but now I
exhausting,
don't care.
yes.
Just keep it. If I don't find it later, I'll take taxi and go home.
Yeah.
So I'll take a simple, like whatever. I'm taking
yeah.
simple. I'm tired. Okay, I cannot walk. Like usually my friends like, just move, you will feel better. No, I will not feel better. Why? Because I have MS. So somebody tell me, oh no, this is not the right reaction. Usually to say you say this like, oh, or you be sad for someone with like cancer or something like, not for MS patient.
Exactly. But we should remember that it's a process.
It is.
You're getting used to it, and you're getting used to reaching that level, and the level of
I've had it since
Yeah.
2008. Okay, so it's like said, every person is on a different journey. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Some
yeah.
reach it. Some I'm proud. I'm happy for you. You've reached it faster. Some people, like it depends on a lot of your circle around you. Some people are understanding. Some people don't have the emotional capability. Some people don't have the empathy. But on an HR perspective, like, I mean, I'll just add to this. Like, when people apply for jobs, correct? There's this brief questionnaire that comes at the end. It pops up that says, this part of the application process will not be judged on your professional experience, but can you tell us the ethnicity? Or why are you a male or a female, or do you have a disability? But then why are you asking that? If I'm not going to be judged on it, then why am I being asked that? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It's only to be judged.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that
Yeah.
kind of like self-contradicting? You know what I mean? You're like, okay, what's your ethnicity? And I'm not saying that here. It's globally. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, why do you want to know if I'm not going to be judged? Then why would you want to know that? You know what I mean? Why do you want to know if I have a disability, or what's my male or female got to do with this job? You know what I mean? So anyways,
Yeah,
that's on the
but
HR.
still, we want to hear from Khawla, like, what kind of policies are implemented now? Like, let's say, for example, if an employee is going through chemo, what kind of policies are implemented? Like, we can look up to, or like we can.
Yeah, they have accept about the sick leaves because it's take long time.
Yeah,
so
it's a longer, like, we
inside
know
or
about
abroad
some
of UAE.
policies, like have up to 3 months. But what happens after that? What if it's a lifetime thing? What kind of policy?
I think only for government sector, right? صح? Yeah.
I think the policy is unpaid leave. It's an unpaid leave. What's your thoughts on that as MS people?
I mean, I'm the kind of person where my boss, thankfully, alhamdulillah, right now my boss is like, if you need a day off, take a day off. but it would be great to see something like that for us instead of having to battle the feeling of guilt that you're not functioning enough to be supportive.
Like if we want to come up with solutions, what if this directory of the POD has different kind of leaves, paid leaves, or maybe half paid leaves? What do you think management or leadership will look at that?
I think they can support يعني مثلا they can احنا في الوقت الحالي عندنا حالات مثلا اللي عندهم اصحاب الهمم فمستثنينهم مثلا ساعات العمل 4 ساعات ما نعطيهم 8 ساعات كامله يستلمون رواتب نفسنا. بعد بالاضافه الى ذلك اللي يتعب ما يقدر يقعد they can work from home وما يعطونا شغل. يعني في استثناءات تصير
تسهيلات
مع المدير تسهيلات تصير.
شو رايك فاطمه؟
انا بس
هل الدوامات يعني
هي
نسوي له استثناءات يعني وقت حالته يوم بيكون تعبان
ولا على طول؟
وقت حالته مثلا احنا عندنا في ناس ما شاء الله يعني على طول بس يبون تقارير التقارير لازم تتجدد كل فتره.
اي نعم.
يبون التقارير اذا لا زالوا مستمرين في وضعهم بالحاله اللي هم فيها
يحتاج اذا تعب شو بيسوي مسكين؟
في سياسات حاليا انه يطلع اجازه بدون راتب. شو رايك في حل اخر بالنسبه لاصحاب؟
حرام يعني يطلع بدون راتب.
بدون راتب هي يعني
حرام يعني على الاقل نص الراتب.
انا قدمت على اجازه بدون
نص الراتب
بدون راتب تم الرفض.
يعني هو الحين محتاج علاج.
خوله اسمعيها شو
تم الرفض مع ان انا كنت اداوم سيمي جفرمنت مو بجفرمنت ولا انا برايفت. قدمت unpaid leave reject على طول.
She's saying like because your HR background, she's saying like when she applied for unpaid leave, even the unpaid leave was refused. So يعني that's a big
immediately reject.
Yeah, big challenge. هنادي شو رايك؟
احنا عندنا بصراحة في دوامي لا أي شيء يعني نبغى حتى work from home يسوون لنا وايد تسهيلات.
خدمي عندهم خديجة.
بالعكس هم حتى مش بس حق اللي عندهم.
في مرة اضطريتي تقدمين إجازة بدون راتب؟
حتى لو أقول لهم بدون راتب يقولوا لي لا يصير اشتغلين من البيت ولا بدون شغل بالراتب.
لا بصير.
أو بس تشتغل في البيت أونلاين يعني لو تشتغل يحطوا له فرصة إن أونلاين يشتغلون أونلاين وهذول عندهم في حالة تعب.
She's saying why don't they make a policy to give them an online working option like to work from a distance. That's a very good solution. I think خوله you can like forward.
الحين قاعدين يفعلون في السياسة العمل عن بعد يعني مو بس إلا حتى يعني بالعكس شافوا أوفر حتى حق
أوفر وايد يعني الكوست وايد أقل. هي
بس المشكلة تجي من المدير. ترى الاتش ار اوقات يقولون لا ما نقدر نساعدك سيري عند مديرك ومديرك يصير عند مديره وبعدين
ترى هي المشكلة في المدراء. المشكلة هني في المدراء.
لازم يثقفون بالشيء هذا ان الانسان هذا مريض عنده حالة تعب عنده كيف يحس بالارهاق.
ترى مرات الدوامات مو متعاونين يعني انا وحده من اللي ابدا ما كان يعني مديري متعاون وماسك لي الند بالند. عرفتي
شو نوع التعاون اللي تحبين تشوفينه؟
تعاون سبورت بس من الاتش ار. اذا انت حطيت سبورت كان عندك الاتش ار مديرك ما يهم بس اذا تحالف المدير والاتش ار كانوا ربع هني المشكله.
She's saying like she want to see some kind of support from the HR perspective. So I'm asking her, what kind of support would you like to see? Like from your experience or your experience, like anyone can jump in. What kind of support do you want to see implemented?
So I think on a look, Dubai's home for me. I've been here like for 40 years. They've come up with great initiatives. I love Dubai. You know, I mean, this is my place. This is where I've been. They've done a lot of great initiatives. You know what I mean? And I think part of the couple of things that they can do is like, you know, implement it like all across the board and all across companies, being like, you need to hire a certain percentage of people with disabilities. There should be something that should be put across the board, like, I don't know, 5% across your workforce should be, you know, disabled people. Could be like, you guys, implement a more hybrid model, work from home and office work. You know, I mean, globally, if you look into it, people are moving to a hybrid model. Some days from work, some days from, you know.
Yeah, I think Samia and Rayman talked about this earlier. But what do you think? What kind of support you want to see in the HR?
Okay, let us start with the government. If the government controls the policy themselves and comes to the HR and goes like, نحن نبغى 1 2 3 يكونوا في عون اللي عندهم POD that they work from home for a specific time. If they ask for specific things, it should be done for these people
as a protocol,
as a protocol,
not asking.
as a protocol.
Yeah.
Then us as employees will feel comfortable going to our manager and saying, because of the protocol, we would like to sit at home today.
Like it's a given right.
It's a given right.
Yes.
Only then we can have a voice. Only then they will learn, the mudara, the mudir will learn the protocol because he's forced to go with it. And that's the only way I believe that HR and businesses can come together to understand or to force people to understand what MS is.
Do you think, Khawla, it's something that can be done?
شرط الحكومة يوم تقول نحن نبغى مثلا 5% من البزنس يكون بس مواطنين، يعني عادي يعطونكم فاين على هالموضوع، صح ولا لا؟ نفس الشيء.
Like a litigation.
I think I agree. This is a great idea. I think if you combine that with training and then spreading awareness through organization like National Multiple Sclerosis, I think people like us would have a better chance being able to go in and say like, okay, I can't come in today. Can I work from home? It makes sense because and this is not anything against pregnant women, but a pregnant woman can say, oh, I'm too tired today. I'm sorry. I would like to start my leave earlier, for instance. It's very difficult for an MS person to say that.
And nobody will think she's faking it.
Yeah, exactly. They could see she's pregnant, you know, there's nothing to highlight more than that. But for an MS person, they'd be like, but you're okay, you're standing right
fine,
now.
yeah.
Do I need to drop down dead for you to believe that I really just can't come in today to work?
And through the medical report at the beginning, before you actually start a job, they ask you what's wrong with you, what do you take, what are you not taking. Through this medical report, going to HR directly, they have to approve it. يعني they can't see that you have MS, يعني we're not going to take you.
Yeah.
فأنا كوحدة عندي MS يعني ما بدي فوت على شغل وأكون خايفة إنه يمكن ما يوظفوني.
Yeah. They reject me just for
لازم
having
أعطيهم الورقة وأقول أنا عندي MS حتوظفوني. يعني ليه؟ لأنه أنا عارفة إنه الحكومة واقفة معي.
support me.
صح. فأنا ما حخاف من HR. لأنه HR بيكون خايف من الحكومة.
لازم يراعونهم في طرف، يعني خاصة اللي عندهم الMS، إن كان وافد إن كان مواطن.
شو نوع الدعم تحسين نحتاج؟ شو نوع الدعم اللي نحتاجه
يعني
في
خلاص
الموارد البشرية؟
هذا ينحط في السيستم أصلاً. إن كان مواطن إن كان وافد، هذا مرض مش بيده مسكين هو.
صح. I think that's an important outcome, Khawla, to forward to the at the end, all these legislations and all these policies are made by humans, and humans are emotional beings. And we all have our backgrounds and we all have our story. Even the people who don't have MS, they have their personal stories. So we are here to join together to in one hand and in one voice to make changes to these policies and to make changes to these legislations and make our voices heard in order to see outcomes and results and to help improve our MS community. We are super functional people, we are smart people, we are ambitious people, and all of us have goals in our lives, and all of us see ourselves somewhere in this life, and maybe we just need some help and understanding from our communities, from our authorities, from leadership, which I'm sure we are here because of them and because we are heard. And to wrap up our circle, if anyone want to add something like something we missed and something we didn't mention in the workplace and having MS, إذا حب حد يعني يضيف أي إضافة، أي اقتراح، أي فكرة نسيناها ما ذكرناها خلال هالجلسة.
عندنا الأندية
في ختام الجلسة. تفضلي.
الأندية كعلاج طبيعي، أنت تروحين صارت عندك النقصة بتروحين كعلاج طبيعي، أنا وين أتوجه؟ توجهت المركز يعني يمكن ما عندهم خلفيه كيف الام اس ما يتعرض للحراره، الشبابيك كلها فاتحه. انا ابى التكييف، والناس اللي داخلين معايا مش عندهم الام اس يقولون لهم الكبار السن يقولون لهم طفوا التكييف.
So
أنا هذه جتني
she's
المرحلة.
saying, we need more awareness in MS, and I think all of you here have a big role in raising MS awareness in our community, and adding to the level of awareness that our culture and our community in the UAE reached. And with that, we would like to close this circle. It's a pleasure for me to meet you all. The new faces and the old faces, and I think we discussed very important matters today, and I hope the MS Society can help in implementing all the thoughts and ideas and concerns we discussed today. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
شكرا لك، جزاك الله خير، انتصرتي.